Keep it going for Gina. She was talking about being a teacher and teaching from home, which brings me a question. If all the kids were homeschooled, does that mean every place was a drug-free school zone or no place was a drug-free school zone? You know, like somebody needs to elaborate on that. Everybody thought working from home was going to be awesome until you realize you could be annoyed by family and work at the same time. You're like, this sucks. Any Italians in here? Oh, there's a couple. You can tell by my last name and my nose, I am also Italian. We are fun and very proud people. I mean, we're very with us or against us, right? I mean, the only meal that we have without pasta, literally called antipasta. Growing up, I was a remedial kid. Do you guys know what that means? That means I'm not slow enough to get praised for doing everyday things. But I am slow enough to get ridiculed for poor spelling on the internet daily. So it's like I'm right in that sweet spot. Which means, in total, that I'm a remedial Italian. So that means that I think Olive Garden is the best Italian food you can get. When I make lasagna, I use ragu. And I call it gravy. And I use tinfoil to cover my couch so nobody sits on it. That's the whole gist. So when I was a kid, I don't think I'm that old, I'm 43 years old, but still, a lot of things have changed since I was a kid. Like when I was a kid, we didn't wear bicycle helmets, right? Because brain damage wasn't a thing. What's I talking about? When I was a kid, you didn't smoke weed to help with anxiety, right? Because 2 hits in, you knew the cops were coming. They can smell it. Oh. When I was a kid, there was no safe spaces in school. The only video game we had was Oregon Trail, where you watch your family members die off one by one because of your poor decisions. Kids today would be traumatized by it. They'd be like, this game is so fake. People don't die from the flu. They'd be like, why is there no vaccine for dysentery? Well, that just means your aunt is a dirty, dirty bitch. There's no way around it. And when I was a kid, there were no participation trophies. The losing team actually lined up and got spit on by the parents. Which is why I'm so tough now. So everybody's 20, 23, everybody's getting into shape, or trying to. I was actually forced to get into shape by irreversible affliction that was threatening to take my happiness. I was going bald. Very difficult to deal with. Because you can't get an attractive woman with a dad bod and no hair. Not with my personality of it. Something had to give. So I joined Planet Fitness. Anybody else go to Planet Fitness? The judgment-free zone. They do not judge you for only showing up on bagel or pizza day. They're totally fine with it. They're like, that's cool. They do, however, have a lunk alarm, right? So the lunk alarm, for people that don't know, there's a sign that says a lunk is somebody that grunts or drops weights, and then they have a picture next to it of a jacked guy with a thin tank top on and a gallon of water, which seems pretty judgy if you ask me. So I was in there one day and there was a guy grunting and lifting weights. So I went over and I hit the lung alarm, because I go to Planet Fitness for one reason only. It has to be the most fit person in there, not the second most fit. Like, get this guy out of here. Go to a real gym. They have heavy weights. You know, I would just get hair implants, but we know that's BS, right? Everybody, one guy. You know how I know there's commercials for it? Have you guys ever seen a commercial for breast implants? Not walking down the street. And then on TV. So the only, I saw a hair restoration commercial recently. I need this for us. And it was Dr. Nussbaum was on it. It was a Nussbaum hair restoration, whatever it was. His hairline was here. I'm like, bro, get it to your eyebrows and you got my interest, alright? If his hair was to his eyebrows, I'd look into it, but that's not the first thing they messed up with TV, right? In 2020, they got rid of Cops, which was a terrible decision because that was a great show. If you were ever upset with life, you could check in with Florida. You're like, it's not even bad here. It's actually pretty good. They also got rid of Live Rescue, which is, instead of following cops, they follow around EMTs. It's basically the second half of Ridiculousness. Just switch over to that one. What did you do, sir? I was trying to skateboard off my roof. So that made me think, if I was going to make a TV show, what TV show would I make? And I would make a show called Clapped. Instead of Snap. It's where people get revenge on being given the clap. It's fairly specific. But I figured the first episode, this guy's like, yo, this bitch gave me the clap, but I didn't trip. I didn't even get rid of it. I kept it for like 2-3 months till she called me for a booty call, and that's when I clapped back. Probably only good for one season, I would imagine. How far can you go with that? Does anybody watch Law and Order? A couple people. Who produces it? Dick Wolf. Nobody's ever as excited as I am about Dick Wolf. I mean, you gotta think, if it's a legal paper, it reads Wolf Dick. Which is pretty cool just on its own. But I think with, you know, like, he is a producer, so I'm like, maybe he produced porn at some point? And somebody's like, hey, you're really good at this, Dick, and he says, thanks. And he's like, no, too good. Like, people are just trying to masturbate. What's with all the plot twists? But I think that he missed his calling, right? Guy's name is Dick Wolf. He obviously should have done porn. Because then he could have a finishing move. He'd be like, oh! No one has a finishing move. He'd be the first guy, Dick Wolf. So commercials, right? We were talking about hair commercials. They got a lot of drug commercials. Who likes drugs in here? I bet nobody was screaming about their blood pressure medication just now. For sure, but that's what the commercials we have, right? They got commercials for pills for stuff like sweaty palms, which seems normal. Just saying, but okay. Restless legs. Anybody got restless legs in here? Do you run? No. Every once in a while, there's somebody that says that. Damn you. Okay, it's a real thing, all right? Then they have pills for stuff you don't even have yet. Pre-diabetes. I'm like, what are you talking about, dog? You caught it. Good job, dude. Then they have commercials for anti-depression pills. And what's the first side effect they list? Suicide. Suicidal thoughts. Seems weird. But then if you have an issue, right, what do? Give you a second antidepressant. Because worst case scenario, you want to kill yourself twice. And it's not really a big deal by that point. But then you got, you got the other drugs that's mostly illegal. Is anybody excited weed is legal? Woo! That's why I gave it up to mainstream. No? All I do now is mushroom, coke, and fentanyl. That's it. Has anybody ever done mushrooms in here? And raced go-karts? It's true they say everybody dies, but not everybody truly lives. Anybody microdose mushrooms? One guy respects the plant. Rest of you heathens don't respect the plant, alright? For you guys that don't know what microdosing mushrooms mean, it just means eating them first thing in the morning. Like a respectable adult. That way it takes you less to trip. That's the whole thing to it. But it's good and bad microdosing, right, sir? Because you realize that you've been looking at life through a narrow perspective, and that all the negative reactions and feelings are just undealt with trauma in your life. At the same time, you realize that you've been looking at life through a narrow perspective, and everything negative that has ruined your life is just undealt with trauma. Like, I realized from microdosing that I'm actually better looking than I always thought my whole life, which is terrible. Because that means everybody that dislikes me does solely based on who I am as a person. I would rather just be ugly. So also, I think, who else agrees that Coke should be legal? You guys never saw the movie Flight, obviously. Quick synopsis for people that haven't. Denzel Washington is a pilot that likes to party his dick off. Okay? He's got a very early morning flight, but it doesn't stop him from getting completely wasted. So what does he do the next morning? More yayo. During this flight, he gets into a dive that to this day, the best pilots have not been able to pull out of in a simulator. It's basically a PSA for why you should get a safe driver discount for doing coke and driving. You should get pulled over and the cop's like, have you been drinking tonight? And you go, yes, but I also did cocaine. How much did you do? Well, I bought a small bag, I did 2 lines, and it was shit. So then I did the whole bag. I think I have about 20 minutes to make it home before this wears off. Well, it looks like you're gonna have to go down this alleyway right here. Hang a right. I will radio ahead to make sure nobody pulls you over. Thanks for being a responsible adult. Please be on your way. You don't think that's gonna happen? She's very suspicious now. I'm sweating under my beard. What else? Oh, I don't have any fentanyl should be legal jokes. Sorry. Don't actually do fentanyl, that I know of. Yes, okay. So speaking of drugs, who smokes cigarettes or used to smoke cigarettes? Anybody? Everybody, you were like, oh my God, I'm smoking cigarettes, it's gonna kill me, right? But you guys realize that cigarettes are what real drug addicts do in between real drugs. That's just waiting for them. It's like, I'm just gonna pass the time with this. It's not even important to them. One time I worked with a guy and he's like, he goes, I was promised 30 Red Bulls. And I was like, 30 Red Bulls is a bit much, I don't think that's good for you. And he goes, it's better than meth. And I'm like, get this fucking guy Red Bull! Where is the Red Bull? So I assume everybody's couples in here for the most part? Anybody else not fart in front of their significant other? Listen, I don't do it out of, respect or anything. I just don't want her to think it's okay to fart in front of me. You just open the door with that. I'll leave you with this. I understand that the environment is important, but I drive a big diesel truck. And I've thought about reducing my carbon footprint, but then how will everybody know about my huge carbon dick? All right, guys, thank you very much. Clint, Esposito, and all of those things. Thank you for coming.